This is our fourth annual day that the district, not just our school, but the district celebrates the middle child. I know you don't want to be called a child, but I'm calling you a child. The middle children, the middle child. Now, what's unique about the 7th grade is not only are you the middle child in the district, but you are middle in the school. And we're a little past the middle part of the year and the middle part of middle school. You all, or most of you, were in this cafeteria enjoying some pizza on a warm August day when you were in 6th grade. Do you remember that? Yes. Do you remember? And I guess I'm looking for an answer with a student who might want to raise a hand. Do you remember what we did? And do you remember, or do you want to make an educated inference to what we're going to do in the next couple minutes?
Like we wrote like 3 goals on a piece of paper and we put them up there.
It was from the 6th grade you to the 8th grade you. The 7th grade you is going to check in with the 6th grade you to see how well you're doing to support the 8th grade you. Wave to your friends. Goodbye. So long. We'll miss you. Noah's like, thank God.
Noah, I'll catch you, Joe. I'll make you fly on your face.
Come on over, Damien. Come on over. Okay, read it first and decide if you want to read it to everybody else.
No.
You don't want to read it? No. No? None of it?
No.
No? You guys write personal things to yourself. September 4th, 2013.
Dear Danielle, how is your year going to turn out? Will it be fun? One of my goals is to get first place in a karate tournament. What belt am I? Will middle school be as fun as I think? What will my favorite movie be? Yep, that's all.
Okay. How's middle school so far?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Fun?
Amazing.
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 Amazing. Ready? Oh.
Oh my God.
Let us receive you in 8th grade. We have 3rd, 4th, and 5th here? Yeah. So good morning. On behalf of half of the 7th grade at the middle school, so to my left, your right, this is half of our 7th grade at the Hartnett Middle School. This is one team. This is Mrs. Carroll's team. They will be performing in about an hour in Blackstone at the complex. I'm happy to share that the other half of the 7th grade team are now in Mrs. Ryan's room, which we're using as backstage. They will be performing some works of poetry for you. April is National Poetry Month. And the way we celebrate National Poetry Month in the middle school is we have what's called a poetry residency. And in the poetry residency, we have poems and poets take over our ELA classes. And one of the things that we do is we make sure that the poems come off the page and come to life. And that is what the performance and assembly is all about this morning. Our 7th graders are going to be performing poetry for all of you. My expectations for all of you is for you to be a wonderful audience. You are being exposed, which means we are sharing with you the arts. So I need you to pretend that you are at a theater or a play in Worcester, Boston, or Providence, and you're not in your school. When and only when, and the 7th graders know this as well, the 7th graders who are coming on stage bow, that is the only time that you show your recognition for their hard work, and that's only done by clapping. At this time, I'd like to present to you our first poem, which is entitled Winter, by Zach Tremblay, Maddie Monahan, and Patrick Clifford.
Winter by Nikki Giovanni. Burrow in the mud. Snails bury themselves. We air out our quills, preparing for the cold.
Dogs grow more hair. Mothers make oatmeal. And little boys and girls take Father John's cold medicine.
Bears store fat, chipmunks gather nuts, and we cook books the upcoming cold.
The Dream Keeper by Langston Hughes, Nathan and Zach.
The Dream Keeper by Langston Hughes.
Bring me all your dreams, your dreamers.
Bring me all your heart melodies,
So unwrap them in the blue cloud cloud.
away from the two rough fingers of the world.
The Penmanship Has Sailed by Alan Katz. Tyler, Mark, and Joe.
The Penmanship Has Sailed by Alan Katz.
My handwriting's really lousy,
All my B's look like D's.
I never close my O's enough.
so I often close my C's.
My S's look like 5s and stuff.
My teacher lost her cool.
Today we're gonna work on this.
When we stay after school.
We have a Robert Frost poem coming up, A Time to Talk by Haley, Brady, and Alex.
Go Brady. A Time to Talk by Robert Frost.
When a friend calls me from the road and slows his horse to a meaning walk,
I don't stand still and look around on all the hills I haven't hoed.
I shout from where I am, what is it? There is no time to talk.
I thrust my hoe into the ground, 5 foot. I go up to the stone wall for a friendly visit.
We have a second Robert Frost poem coming up, A Patch of Old Snow by Jordan, Emma, and Jared.
An old patch of snow.
By Robert Frost.
There's an old patch of snow in a corner.
That I should have guessed was the blown away paper the rain had brought to us.
It's speckled with grime.
As if print overspread it, the news of its day, I've forgotten if I ever read it.
Our next poem is entitled This Morning is Our History Test by Shakira, Emma, Brendan, and Patrick.
This morning is our history test.
By Ken Nesbitt.
This morning is our history test.
I've written my notes inside my vest.
Inside my coat, I wrote my notes.
From dates to secret codes.
I've written more upon my hand.
It's only I can understand.
In my socks and sleeves, I stowed.
My scribbled notes from secret code.
I've written down so many names.
Of winners of the Olympic Games.
Of buildings, places, people too.
From Tennessee to Timbuktu.
I even copied down a piece.
Of ancient Rome and ancient Greece.
Plus everything from Shakespeare's plays.
To who invented mayonnaise.
I came to school so well prepared.
I wasn't nervous, I wasn't scared.
But here it is, our history test.
I look inside my coat and vest.
To get the dates and famous quotes.
And I find that I cannot read my notes.
So much for Shakespeare's Greece and Rome.
I left my glasses back at home.
Our next poem is by Emily Dickinson, The Moon by Jacob Chaplin, Megan, Trinity, and Lauren and Dan.
The Moon by Emily Dickinson. The moon was but a chin of gold a night or two ago, and now she turns her perfect face upon the world below.
Her forehead is amplest blonde, her cheek a beryl hue. Her eye unto the summer dew, the likest I have known.
Her lips of amber never part, but what must be a smile? Upon a friend she could confer, were such her silver will.
And what a privilege to be, but the remotest star, for certainty she'd take her way beside your palace door.
Her bonnet is the firmament, the universe her shoe. The stars, the trinkets at her belt, her divinities of blue.
Our next poem is The Rider by Isaiah, Sam, Shaylee, and Ciara.
The Rider by Naomi Shihab Nye. A boy told me if he roller skated fast enough, his loneliness wouldn't catch up to him. The best reason I ever heard for trying to become a champion.
What I wonder tonight, pedaling hard down Canyon Street.
A victory, to leave your loneliness panting behind you on some street corner while you flow through a crowd of sun azaleas.
Pink petals that have never felt loneliness or that has loneliness.
You girls are doing a fantastic job being our audience. We thank you for that. Our next poem is I'm Nobody, Who Are You by Kayla, Alexis, and Alana.
I'm Nobody. Who are you? By Emily Dickinson.
I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell.
They vanish as you know.
How dreary to be somebody. How public like a frog.
To tell your name, the livelong day, to admiring Bob.
There's Carl Sandburg's poem, We Must Be Polite by Elijah, Dylan, Lizzie, and Juliet.
We Must Be Polite by Carl Sandburg. If we meet a girl, what shall we do? Two things we may do, if we so wish to do. Speak to the girl.
Very, very respectfully.
How do you do, sir? or speak to the girl with less distinction of manner. Hey, why don't you go back to where you came from? If an elephant knocks on your door and asks for something to eat, there are two things to say. Tell him you have nothing but cold victuals and have the dinner next door, or say you have 6 bushels of potatoes. Will that be enough for your breakfast, sir?
Closing the curtains, an old theater trick to get them closer to the audience. At History of Hopeless. Front of the chairs, chairs down.
At History, I'm hopeless.
By Ken Nisbet.
At History, I'm hopeless.
At spelling, I'm
In music, I'm useless.
From science, I stray.
At art, I'm atrocious.
At reading, I'm rotten.
Sports, I'm a klutz.
And math makes me nuts.
At language, I'm lousy.
Computers, I'm cursed.
In drama, I'm dreadful.
My writing's the worst.
There's only one subject.
I'm sure I would pass.
But they don't teach.
Video games in my class.
Our next poem is Daffodils by Ethan, Danielle, Matthew, Greta, and Val.
Daffodils by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on higher vales and hills.
When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the tree,
I'm a tree!
fluttering and dancing in the breeze.
Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way.
They stretch to never
Ending line that walks round the margin of the bay.
10,000 I saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance.
The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the twinkling waves with glee.
A poet could not but be gay, such joints and company.
I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought.
For often on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood. They flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And now my heart with pleasure fills as I dance with the daffodils.
The Langston Hughes poem coming up. Zoe, Libby, and Marissa.
Dance African by Langston Hughes.
The low beating of the tom-toms. The slow beating of the tom-toms. Low. Slow.
Slow.
Low. Stirs your blood. Dance. Dance.
Dance.
A night-veiled girl whirls softly into a circle of light.
Whirl softly, slowly.
Like a wisp of smoke around the fire.
And the tom-toms beat.
And the tom-toms beat.
And the low beating of the tom-toms
Stirs
your
blood.
We have another Emily Dickinson poem, Morning, by Casey, Olivia, Mallory, and Morgan.
Will there really be a morning by Emily Dickinson.
Will there really be a morning? Is there such a thing as day?
Could I see from the mountains of eyes as tall as they?
Has it feet like water lilies?
Has it feathers like a bird? Is it brought from famous countries of which I have never heard?
Oh, some scholar, oh, some sailor.
Oh, some wise man from the sky.
Please to tell a little pilgrim.
Where the place called Morning lies.
We have a poet who I believe a lot of 3rd and 4th graders, even 5th graders, have heard of, Shel Silverstein. For Sale, Jessica Farley, Stephanie Spear, and Jason Taylor.
For Sale by Shel Silverstein.
One sister for sale, one crying and spying young sister for sale.
Really not kidding?
So who starts the bidding?
Do I hear $1?
A nickel?
A penny?
Oh,
Isn't there any?
One kid that will buy this old sister for sale?
This crying and spying young sister for sale.
We have our second Shel Silverstein boa constrictor by Mark, Kylie, Nick, Danielle.
Boa Constrictor by Shel Silverstein.
Oh, I'm being eaten.
By a boa constrictor.
I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor and I don't like it one bit.
Well, what do you know?
It's nibbling my toe.
Oh, gee.
It's up to my knees.
Oh, my.
It's up to my thigh. It's up to my middle.
Oh, Jen.
It's up to my neck.
Oh, Jen.
It's...
Oh.
Our next poem is Young Seed.
Young Sea by Carl Sandburg.
The sea is never still. It pounds on the shore, restless as a young hart, hunting.
The sea speaks, and only the stormy heart knows what it says. It is the rough face of a mother speaking.
The sea is young. One storm cleans all the shore and loosens the age of it. I hear it laughing, reckless.
Ha 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 ha.
They love the sea. Men who ride on it and know they will die under the salt of it.
Let only the young come.
Says the sea.
Let them kiss my face and hear me. For I am the last word, and I tell where the storms and stars come from.
Next to last is 15 by Jared, Carissa, Aiden, and Evan.
By William Stafford.
South of the bridge on 17th, I found Vacaville's one summer day, a motorcycle with engine running. As it lay on its side, kicking in the high grass, I was 15.
I admired all that pulse and gleam with the shiny blank Sedamer headlights turned for light. I led it gently to the road and stood with a companion ready and friendly. I was 15.
We could find the end of a road, meet the sky of Route 17. I thought about hills, and patting the handle, I got back a confident opinion. On the bridge, we indulged a forward feeling, a tremble. I was 15.
Thinking back farther in the grass, I found the owner, just coming to where he had flipped over the rail. He had blood on his hand, was pale. I helped him walk to his machine. He ran his hand over it, called me
good man,
and roared away. I stood
there, 15.
Our last poem is Those Winter Sundays by McKenna and Brooke.
Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. Sundays too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather,
They thanked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking, and when the rooms were warm, he called. And slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices?
So I want to thank the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Hopefully this gave you a little sample about what the middle school is all about. We just love active learning and the opportunity to be active with our bodies and to use the energy to help us learn.
So let's be a good audience and be polite at all times. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Cameron, and he is the principal from the middle school.
Thank you, Mr. Staples. One of the first things our 7th graders learn in this poetry residency is what a confident stance is in drama or the theater. So what I am doing right now is my hands are to my side, my feet are downstage center, and I am as patient as I can be waiting for an audience to draw its attention on me. You're doing a wonderful job so far. We have a collection of about 20 poems for you that the 7th graders have been learning in the last few weeks. April is National Poetry Month. We celebrate that in middle school by doing an annual poetry residency. It's very important that middle school learning is active and filled with play and fun as much as possible. So we have 20 poems that students learned figurative language like similes and metaphors and personification and oxymorons. They learned them by acting them out. For example, a hyperbole is a great exaggeration. So 7th graders learn hyperbole by acting it out and being over dramatic. And that's what's important for 7th graders to understand, because not only is this a lesson in poetry, it's a lesson in theater. And the acting that you may see on a television screen, on a computer screen, or on a movie screen is not theater acting. Theater acting is actors and actresses who have the confidence to really be big and dramatic. Think of the word drama. Be dramatic in their actions. This is the 7th graders' dress rehearsal for a very large assembly of students tomorrow at the middle school. We're assembling our entire student body, faculty, and staff. So we thank you for being an audience for them, because teachers also understand that to get the very best from their students, they try to gather an audience. Right now, my 7th graders are a little nervous. It's good to be nervous. I'm going to say that again. It's good to be nervous. That's energy. So we hope the 7th graders will be performing and showcasing for you energy about the poems that they have learned. I'm proud to introduce our first poem. It's by Edgar Allan Poe, so we're going to start off with not a very happy or comical theme, Annabel Lee, and it's being performed by 4 7th graders, Damien, Luke, James, and Nicholas.
Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me.
I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. We loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee. We loved with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me.
And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind came out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her highborn kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea.
The angels not half so happy in heaven when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea.
that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle.
Our love was stronger by far than the love of those who are older than me, as many are wiser than me. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, could ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams, nor bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. The stars never rise, my pale bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lay down by the side, my darling, my life and my bride, my sepulchre there by the sea, and her tomb by the sounding sea.
So I won't give my commentary on every poem that goes because we do have to move this along, but I do have to share how proud I am of that first poem. First of all, they took a poem that had a tone, and readers always need to understand what the tone of a written word is, that was sad and somber, and they wanted to make it funny so many points during the course of the poem. We finally gave them what's called a poetic license at the end. And you did a great job as an educated audience to understand the tone. The only time you laughed was at the end. I also want to share, I don't know how much the 7th graders can hear me, but they set a wonderful example of projecting their voice. I won't embarrass them, but there's one student who just performed. As a 6th grader, every time he spoke, I was like, what? Because he was so soft. So it's wonderful the different things that they are learning during this unit. Our next poem is an Emily Dickinson poem, A Narrow Fellow in the Grass.
A Narrow Fellow in the Grass by Emily Dickinson.
A narrow fellow in the grass occasionally rides. You may have met him, did you not? His note is 17. The grass divides as with a bowl, a spotted shaft to seed, then it closes at your feet and opens for a living.
He likes a boggy acre, a floor too cool for corn, but when a boy and barefoot, I more than once at you, have passed I thought a whiplash on Brady in the sun. When stooping to secure it, it wrinkled and was gone. Several of nature's people, I know, they know me. I fear for them a transport of cordiality, but never met this fellow, attended or alone, without a tighter breathing and zero at the world.
Our next poem is Caged Bird by Chris, Kaylee, Elvin, Dylan, and Emily.
Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps at the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky.
Like a bird that stalks down his narrow path and seldom sees through his wide and free. His wings are thick, his feet are patted, so he opens his throat to sing.
Free bird sings of fearful trouble things unfold.
Favorite things is another breeze, but the flatworms living on the donker long skies up.
But the caged bird stands on a grave of dreams. His shadow shouts and a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing.
The caged bird sings a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. His tune is heard on a distant hill. The caged bird sings of freedom.
Our next poem, Only a Dad, by Edgar Guest, by Mia, Abby, Ashley, and Adam.
Only a Dad by Edgar Albert Guest. Only a dad with a tired face, coming home from the daily race, bringing little of gold or fame to show how well he has played the game, but glad in his heart that his own rejoice to see him come and to hear his voice. Only a dad with a brood of 4, 1 of 10 million men or more, plodding along the daily strife, bearing the whips and scorns of life, with never a whimper of pain or hate, for the sake of those who at home await.
Only a dad, neither rich nor proud, merely one of the surging crowd, toiling, striving from day to day, facing never come his way.
Only a dad when he gives his all, to smooth the way for his children small, doing with courage, stern and grim, the deeds that his father did for him. Now this is the line that him my friend, only a dad.
But the best of men.
The next poem is Train 2 by Zachary, Heather, Kyle, Madison, and Mackenzie.
Train 2 by Louise Bogan. Back through clouds, back through clearing, back through distance, back through silence, back through groves, back through garlands, back through rivers, back through mountains.
Back through lightning, back through cities, back through stars, back through hours.
Back through plains, back through flowers, back through birds, back through
Back through smoke, back through noon, back through love, back through midnight.
I want to quickly share, I read 5 names. You saw 4 7th graders on stage. One of the things that we, in this poetry residency that we've been doing for 4 years, one of the mantras, which means one of the sayings that we always say, is the cliche in theater, the show must always go on. And what that means is they had an absent student, but they learned each other's lines because this was a study of poetry as much as it was performing. And the show still goes on. One year we had a group of 5 who were performing at the all-school middle school assembly. 4 students were absent, but 1 student still took the stage and performed, received a standing ovation, probably one of the best moments in 17 years I've had in education. It's cool stuff when you see students step up for each other during times like this. Our next poem is 15 by Jared, Evan, Carissa, and Aiden.
By William Stafford.
Out of the bridge on 17th, I found back of those one summer day, a motorcycle with engine running. As it lay on its side, kicking in the high grass, I was 15.
I admired all that pulsing with the shiny flanks of fever headlights burned bright light. I led it gently to the road. Stood with a companion ready and friendly. I was 15.
patting the handle, I got back a confident opinion. On the bridge, we indulged the forward feeling, a tremble. I was 15.
Thinking back farther in the grass, I found the owner, just coming to where he flipped over the rail. He had blood, was pale. I helped him walk to his machine. He ran his hand over it, called me,
"Good man,"
and roared away.
I stood there, 15.
That group also performed at Millville. They feel like they're on a tour bus. We also do other performances as well. We're trying to, like in prior years, do performances at the town libraries. And as I mentioned, we're doing a performance tomorrow at the middle school. Our next poem is Those Winter Sundays by McKenna, Kylie, and Brooke.
Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. Sundays too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Those cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather made baked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him.
I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking, and when the burns were warm, he'd cough, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic acres of that house.
Speaking indifferently to him, who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices?
Our next poem is The New Kid on the Block by Zachary, Jacob, and Craig.
The New Kid on the Block by Jack Proletsky.
This new kid on the block, boy, that kid is tough. That new kid punches hard, that new kid plays real rough.
That new kid's big and strong, with muscles everywhere. That new kid tweaks my arm, that new kid pulled my hair. That new kid likes to fight, and picks on all the guys. That new kid scares himself. That new kid's twice my size.
That new kid stomped my toes.
That new kid slipped my ball. That new kid's really bad.
I
don't care for her at all.
And you're doing a wonderful job. I really appreciate the fact that you're paying attention to the lines of the poem. And the laughter there was very appropriate at the end. You understood the plot twist. New Kid was a girl. Our next poem is entitled Backwards Bill. This is our first Shel Silverstein poem by Joshua, Luke, Anthony, Grace, Jada, and Nicole. Steve, but you may have noticed we have no props. And that's an important rule that we always follow every single year. Props should not upstage the work of the poet and the work by our performers. The only thing that we allow for our performers, our 7th grade performers, is to maybe dress a certain color or dress a certain way, as long as it's not a costume. Our next poem is Be Glad Your Nose is Still on Your Face by Sean, Anthony, Sean, Corey, and Brandon.
Be Glad Your Nose is on Your Face by Jack Polutsky. Where it is not, you might just let your nose go on.
Imagine if your precious nose was sandwiched in between your toes, and beauty would not be a treat for you to be forced to smell your weed.
Your nose would be a source of death, and it depends upon your head. So you would drag you through this disaster. It's very, very slow. I don't know.
Within your ear, your nose would be an absolute catastrophe. For when you were obligated to sneeze at you, your brain would rattle from the breeze.
Your nose instead is big and between your eyes and chin. Paste it on some other place. Be glad your nose is on your face.
Our next poem is The Table and the Chair by Isabella, Kaylee, Kalana, Samantha, and Megan.
The Table and the Chair by Edward Lear.
Set the table to the chair, you can hardly be aware how I suffer from the heat of the chill blades on my feet. If we took a little walk, we might just have a little talk. Pray let us take the air, so the table to the chair.
So the chair to the table now you know the iron. A foolish people talk and you know you know. So the table on the side and the table on the side, and as many legs as you would like to have. Women sitting down and walk toward the town and the church of the as they talk about everybody cried as the beast called herself. See the table and the chair and the constant.
But in going down an alley to the castle in the valley, they completely lost their way and wandered on the way. Till to see them safely back, they paid a death cry and a needle and a mask.
So then they took each time and for the delightful what a lovely walking table. Let us not So the donkey and the beetle and the mousy and the beetle. We dined and danced upon our heads and followed
Stage. This is downstage. It's called downstage because in the Shakespearean times, stages used to actually slope downwards. This is why this is downstage center. We tell our performers, our actors and actresses, they should be performing as close to the house of the audience as possible. Our next poem is another Shel Silverstein poem, Kidnapped by Julia, Abigail, Michaela, and Hannah.
Kidnapped by Shel Silverstein.
got kidnapped by 3 masked men. They stopped me on the sidewalk and offered me some change when I wouldn't take it. They grabbed me by the collar, pinned my arms behind me, and shoved me in the backseat of this big black limousine, and
Then tied my hands behind my back with sharp and rusty wire and put a blindfold over me so I couldn't see where they took me, and plugged my ears and caught me so I couldn't hear their voices, and drove for 20 miles at least for 10 minutes. And then dragged me from the garage to a common moldy basement where they put me in the corner and went to get the ransom.
Leaving one of them to guard me with a shotgun pointed at me, tied up to me on school. That's why I'm late for school.
It's a good example of an entire poem being a hyperbole or an exaggeration. The next poem is entitled The Quarrel by Elvin and Marcel. Olivia, sorry.
Well, Eleanor Frederick.
I broke with my brother. I don't know what about.
One thing led to another. Somehow we fell out. The start of it was light, the end of it was strong.
He said he was right. I think he was wrong.
We hated one another, and as we turned away.
And suddenly my brother found me in the back.
Oh, come on. We can't go on all night. I was in the room.
So isn't that right?
Our next poem is entitled As Soon as Fred Gets Out of Bed by Dan and Sean.
As soon as Fred gets out of bed by Jack Prelutsky. As soon as Fred gets out of bed, his underwear goes on his head.
His mother laughs.
Heel, 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 heel. There's no place for underwear.
But the end of his ears above his brains is where Fred's underwear remains.
At night when Fred goes back to bed, he deftly pulls it off his head.
His mother switches off the light and softly croons.
Good night. Good night. And for reasons that no one knows, Fred's underwear goes on his toes.
We've been a great audience. We have 3 more poems left. The next poem is Dusting by Mary Beth Melissa.
Dusting by Julia Alvarez.
Each morning I wrote my name on a dusty pad. I scrawled in capital on the backs of chairs, practicing signatures like scales, while mother thought was my birthday cake. She erased my fingerprints from the bookshelf and rocker. Polished mirrors on the desk scribbled with my alphabet. My name was spelled in the towel in which she showed the table box. But with every mark, I refused to be like her. Anonymous.
Our second to last poem is On a Night of Snow by Dylan Penny.
On a Night of Snow by Elizabeth Goldsworth.
Cass, if you go outdoors, you must walk in the snow. You will come back with little white shoes on your feet. Little white shoes that have snow and have heels of sleet. Stay by the fire, my cat. Lie still. Do not go. See how the flames are leaping and hissing low. I will bring you a saucer of milk like a marguerite, so white and so smooth, so spherical and so sweet. Stay with me, cat, outdoors the wild winds blow.
Outdoors the wild winds blow, mistress. And dark is the night. Strange voices cry in the trees, telling strange lore. And more than cats move, lit by their eyes' green light, on silent feet, by where the meadows hang more. Mistress, there are portents abroad, magic and light. There are things that are yet to be done. Open the door.
Someone can answer with raising a hand. What character did Dylan play in that poem? What character was he? Yes. He was the cat. He was the cat that did not speak until probably the 6th or 7th line in. If a cat speaks in a poem, or even a cartoon, what is that called? What writing technique is that called? What literary device is that called? Yes. Fiction. That's great. That's a great answer. That's the genre. Cats don't really speak in real life, so it certainly is fiction. But it's called a writing technique. It's called folktale. I think this might have been a folktale, but I'm looking for what's called a writing technique. It's not a simile. It's not a metaphor. It's not an oxymoron. It is, well, we're at an MCAS question. It's animated. Sure was. It was live. I loved how animated it was. Again, it wasn't a metaphor. It wasn't a simile. It wasn't an oxymoron. It was personification. Nice job. The last poem we have for you is one of my all-time favorites. And it's something we're very proud of offering middle school students. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost.
By Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in the yellow wood.
And sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth.
Then took the other as just as fair, and perhaps having the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had really warned them about the same. And both one morning equally led, in leaves no steps had trodden black. Oh, I marked the other for another day, but knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back.
I shall be telling this with a sigh. Some their ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by.
And that has made all the difference.
When I introduced that poem, I shared with you that we're proud that we're a middle school that offers students roads that aren't always taken. And we're very proud of the middle school students, the 7th graders who performed for you today. This is a road not always taken. I don't know too many elementary schools that will welcome back their former students like Mr. Staples and Mrs. Brown did today. So let's give them a round of applause for a round of applause.
You get a chance to go back to Millville Elementary or A.F. Maloney and present to the little kids, as we call them now, right? Yeah. So you got a chance to look back at what you used to do. Today, this afternoon, we hope to give you a glance at what's coming in the future for you, what you can expect. Hey, you, stand up. Me? You, go sit by yourself in the back. I'm no nonsense, boys. You better straighten it out right now. I apologize. So once again, hopefully a chance for you guys to see all the opportunities you have here. There's some special things going on that you'll see in some classrooms. Mr. Pillings, who's a great teacher, a great guy, will be showing you some robotic wars, showing you some car races in the hallways. Once again, hopefully a chance for you guys to see all the opportunities you have here. There's some special things going on that you'll see in some classrooms. Mr. Pillings, who's a great teacher, a great guy, will be showing you some robotic wars, showing you some car races in the hallways. So today's a quick hit. Unfortunately, you don't get the time to spend a lot of time in classrooms and see teachers, but you'll be in and out. You'll get to see the building, so you're comfortable and familiar with the building.
Spread out.
I'm the middle, go this way.
That was good.
So, we're going to do an Energizer. It's a repeat after me, and it's called Toast, and I'm going to hand it over to Griffin. Little Red Wagon. So we're actually doing Little Red Wagon, okay. So this is just a repeat after me. Once we'll just repeat what we say. We're going to do it once loud, the second time soft, and the third time like wicked. So we'll show you guys first, and then we'll all do it. So it's just going to be like, you can't ride my little red wagon. The axle's broken, the wheels are dragging, and oopa oopa pop. So just repeat. We'll do it real quick for you guys. So it goes, you can't ride my little red wagon. Yeah. The axle's broken, the wheels are dragging.
The axle's broken.
Oopa oopa oopa. So when we have those awkward pauses is when you repeat us. Okay. Alright? You guys ready? Good? Alright, we're ready. You can't ride my little red wagon. You can't ride my little red wagon. The axle's broken and the wheels are dragging. The axle's broken and the wheels are dragging. Save us the first. Save us the first.
Raise that again.
Oopa, oopa, third verse. Same as the first. The whole lot louder and a whole lot worse. A whole lot louder and a whole lot worse. You can't ride my little red wagon. You can't ride my little red wagon. The axle's broken, the wheels are dragging. The axle's broken, the wheels are dragging. Oopa, 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 oopa,
So again, without further ado, let me introduce Eric Eisner, Jr., President of the Central Mass Student Council Organization.
Alright, thank you for those who participated, and the ones who did not, I'm sorry you missed out on that, but you definitely did miss it. So to start, who here is in student council? Let me see a show of hands. I know Mr. McCord runs a tight ship now. Alright, so a good majority of you all. So I'm going to kind of just talk about the opportunities here at BMR and the things you can do and get involved in. So you have to kind of stay over here. So to start, as he said, I'm the president of the Central District of Massachusetts for student councils. The student council as a whole in Massachusetts is broken up into 4 regions. I also represent on the state board, and obviously I run the region. So I'm also the vice president of our student council and the class president, so you could say I'm pretty involved. Did any of you, are there still the student council officer positions in the middle school? Yeah? Alright, so have some of you guys ran for them or run for anything else in your short middle school careers? No? Alright, so the main, well, there are a lot of opportunities at BMR to start. We have many clubs. We have SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, class officer. They basically run the class. They fundraise up until prom, and then prom and the senior class trip is a large event that you get to spend all the money on at the end, and that's what I'm doing right now. We're planning because I'm only a junior. And then you have NHS. So you guys, 7th grade, so you guys would be being inducted into NJHS, is that correct, some of you? Alright, so there's officer positions for that too, and things like that. So really the one thing that I want to get across to you guys is don't be afraid to get involved, don't be afraid to try these new groups and run for the positions. Even if you lose, my 8th grade year, I ran against Griffin Riley for student council president down at the middle school, and he beat me. I took that to heart, that hurt. But my senior year, I came back, and I actually didn't even join our student council here until halfway through the year, and a little bit, 2 years now later, look at me, I'm running the region. Did I say that? you know. So really to get out of that is, I mean, even if you do get beat in something like that, or you try something and it doesn't work out, move on to the next thing. You just have to kind of find your place here at BMR. Everybody's welcoming. Mr. Ducharme's welcoming, I know, yeah.
When you listen.
When you listen, Mr. Ducharme's welcoming. All the students, the mentors, and like I said, all the clubs are welcoming with open arms also. Student council is always looking for new members. NHS is something great to strive for. It's all grades and everything, so if you guys are kind of right on that edge of NHS or just really want to be on there for NJHS, National Junior Honor Society, really work towards that, because not only does it look good on colleges, that's not why I do the things I do. I do the things I do because I genuinely enjoy them. But it does look good on colleges. I know college is a long time away for you 7th graders, and I still feel it's a long time away for me as a junior, but the day will come one day. And yeah.
I'm Justin Stone. I'm a junior here at BMR, and I'm a student advisor. So a student advisor, along with my peers in the background, we go to sophomore and freshman homerooms every Wednesday morning. And what we do is we help them with their career here. We talk about certain issues like stress, managing stress, things that are going on in school, like MCAS. The sophomores just had MCAS. So we talk to them about things like that, make sure they're on task, how they're doing. So also, how many athletes do we have in here? A lot of athletes, right? How many of you want to keep in high school? A lot of you, all right. So high school sports are a lot different than middle school sports. So if our teams are good enough, we can go to playoffs in high school if you make the varsity team. So playoffs, usually you have to have over a 500 record. But once you go to playoffs, the games get more intense, all that. So it's a really cool experience. Most of our teams actually do make playoffs. Our basketball team made playoffs 2 years ago. 2 years? And actually we had a game here with like over 300 people in the stands, so that was a really cool experience. And our soccer team made playoffs this year. I think they lost first round, along with our baseball team last year. So, but yeah. So if you guys want to do high school sports, it's really good. It's a really good idea. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.